I'm Shelby Dawes. I'm a fourth-year associate. And the topic that we have today, it's about tips and like best practices for homeowners when they're going to hire a contractor.
Okay. And what's interesting about you is this is sort of in your DNA.
Yes.
You know this very well.
Yes. I'm a carpenter's daughter. My dad's in construction. He does cabinets and millwork. So I grew up in the family business, worked for him like every summer throughout college and in high school. So I really learned how the business was run and saw what my dad did too, even though he's in commercial.
Right.
A lot of the things that I think that a lot of homeowners don't do, they do it in commercial to protect, because they protect themselves way better, I think.
Right, because it's a business, right?
It's a business, yeah. So a lot of the things that I've learned just through my dad and being part of the family business and working there and seeing when things blow up.
Right.
And, so then he changes his approach. So it's really just kind of also like years of how he...
Trial and error.
Trial and error.
Yeah, you've absorbed that over the years.
Yeah.
And because I got to say, you gave me this breakdown, and I will say it's the holy grail. I mean, if some of our clients had this beforehand, they wouldn't be our clients.
Yeah.
These are phenomenal tips. Now, a handful, I think, are self-evident, but you have some that are tremendous in terms of protecting oneself. Mm-hmm. So we can just jump right into it. I think you have a total of 7.
7, okay.
And
7's a good number.
Yeah, it is. Lucky number.
Yeah. Well, so this also, this is probably self-evident, the first tip I have, but I think a lot of people don't really necessarily always know about it. But the first thing you should do is go to the CSLB website, which is for the Contractor State License Board, and check to see if the contractor that you're going to hire, and before you hire them, is licensed, because that is huge.
That's easy to do. It's like 2 minutes.
2 minutes.
Do it on your phone.
Yeah, you can do it on your phone. And also make sure it's active, because they could have a license that's no longer active.
Okay.
But that page is like a source of great information.
Okay, so that's step 1. You meet the contractor. That contractor is amazing in terms of what they're saying.
Yeah.
They then leave. First thing, you jump on your phone and you cross-reference.
Yes, 100%. And also, too, I think is important as well is that, because they'll have like classifications for their license. And so say you're going to get plumbing work done in your house,
okay,
and your contractor, their license is for like millwork.
Right.
Or cabinets. That's do you want them to be doing plumbing work at your house?
Right.
Because, everyone has their specialty. So
right.
I think that's important as well.
So it's almost it's 2 parts that you're looking at. You're looking to first see if they're even there. Mm-hmm. If they appear, okay, great.
Yeah.
But then what is their classification, and does it jive with what they're doing at your property?
Yes.
Okay, tip 1, that's easy.
Tip 1. And then the next tip, which I think is really big, is confirming that they have commercial general liability insurance.
Okay.
So, before you sign a contract too, these things need to be done before you sign. The contract should tell you that they have, whether or not they have commercial general liability insurance, and also the insurance carrier, and you can call. And it'll be like, here is their insurance and here's a number to call. You should call and confirm their coverage 100%.
And why is that?
Well, because if anything happens, then, and if they're not insured, you're kind of screwed. If they were to mess up on the job, if they did, shoddy work, and they're not insured,
It's a safety net.
It's a huge safety net.
But so it's not enough just to see it. You should actually call, follow up, and do your due diligence.
Oh.
Is I think what you're getting at, though.
You definitely need to do the due diligence, especially because I know that I see insurance certs circling around all the time. It's a PDF. I've seen them altered.
Easy to falsify.
We all can edit a PDF. So call and see if they have coverage, the policy period also.
Okay.
And
that's also very quick. That's another 2-3 minute, maybe 5 if you're on hold.
Yeah.
Okay.
So this one I think is huge, and it's probably I think the most important, is confirming that they have workers' compensation.
Oh, I love this topic.
Insurance for their employees. So, and this is also on the CSLB website. It'll say either, this is their insurance carrier for the workers' compensation, and, the phone number, the policy. It says it has that as well. I would still call and confirm. And then, what's another good thing on here?
Well, briefly on that one, because that's interesting. So let's say they don't. And let's run a scenario.
Okay.
Workers show up, they go to the roof, they fall off the roof. The expectation is the homeowners, hey, it's not my thing, that's on them.
Yeah.
But without that, that's not the reality.
No. So if they, their employees gets hurt at your property and they don't have any workers' compensation to cover their injury, they're coming after you as the homeowner.
Massive liability.
It's huge. Especially, construction's dangerous.
Yep.
So there's accidents all the time. I know just at my dad's, in his shop, someone cut their finger off. And it was traumatizing. I don't mean
to laugh, but that's
I know,
pretty
it's
intense.
traumatizing, but he has workers' comp.
Yeah.
It's a big deal. Even they're hurting their backs and all that stuff. But that is really, that's huge. And also I think what's important too is that, so on the website, it shows the insurance coverage, or it'll say this contractor, licensee or whatever it says, has no employees and is exempt from workers' compensation requirements.
Red flag. Okay.
It's very unlikely that a contractor is going to have no employees. A one-man shop, first of all, that's kind of making me think, is this guy that can he do that on his own?
Right.
He doesn't have any workers, no one that does the labor.
Right.
To me,
and it's unlikely they'll admit that as well. They're not going to disclose how they're representing themselves to the contractor's board. Mm-hmm. So this is just getting behind the curtain, really verifying something that you're not necessarily going to see at the forefront.
Mm-hmm. And when I see that the contractor says that they're exempt, I'm thinking they have employees that are misclassified as independent contractors because workers' compensation insurance, it's expensive.
Right.
They don't want to have to, so they're just treating them as independent contractors when they could very well be misclassified. Then that employee who's treated like an independent contractor gets hurt at your property.
Blows back to you. They
have no insurance coverage.
Got it.
So
that's a big one. I think that's huge.
Yeah. I don't want to be prejudiced against someone who doesn't have employees, and maybe it's really true, but it should, ring the alarm.
Well, I think it's also the nature and scope of the project that they're agreeing to, right?
Mm-hmm.
If it's a if it's a one-person shop and they're overhauling your entire house and they don't have employees,
that's so unlikely.
You can't do that.
Yeah.
Okay.
And then I also too what also rings the alarm, I guess, is that when they are exempt, when they say they're exempt from insurance, it's kind of making me think, well, are they have no employees and they're just hiring unskilled laborers that they just find? What's the quality of their subcontractors that they're hiring?
So then actually that's interesting because you're going beyond legal to an extent, because one is the legal ramifications of it, but also you're going into quality. Mm-hmm. Quality though becomes relevant if you hire them to do a beautiful job. They don't. That also becomes a legal issue, right? A breach or negligence, I guess you could argue. So that's also telegraphing a potential problem down the road.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, I like that.
Yeah. And all this stuff too, when it comes to the general liability insurance and the workers' comp, that is supposed to be in the contract, the home improvement contract. So there's very specific provisions that have to be in one of the contracts for home improvement. So whenever you're getting work done at your property, it's so detailed down to the font size. But I think what's more important is that, you can have all this stuff that's in your contract. You can have them say, oh, yes, I have workers' compensation or I have general liability. But if you don't go and do your due diligence, this contract means nothing.
I agree.
They put it in there for protecting, the purpose of the law is to protect the homeowner. But what protection do you have if you don't?
Well, especially if it's falsified. It's not going to be a defense if the if the employee comes after you.
Mm-hmm. So. Yeah. Oh, and then the next tip that I have, tip number 4, would be also on the CSLB website. They have the contractor's bond. So check to see that they have the bond, that's all good.
Okay, explain the bond though. Because there's this notion of piercing the bond. Let's go into why a bond is important. What does it do? Why does it benefit the homeowner? Yeah,
well, you can recover so you can file a claim against a contractor's bond. It's kind of almost like an insurance in a sense, where if the contractor violates the Business and Professions Code, you can file a claim against the bond amount to recover damages. But like which is great, right? Because you can get like a certain sum, but the most amount you can get is $25,000.
Right.
And that's new. It used to be 15, which is not a lot of work on a home. Like
it's like the hallway. If that.
Especially with inflation.
No.
So, I mean, that should never really be someone's end all be all. Like I'll fall back on, I can always, make a claim against their contractor's bond. Okay, but that's not going to cover.
But is it somewhat of an indication of, okay, the contractor has a bond. It shows a little bit of a heightened level of sophistication.
Yes, that's very true. I didn't even think about that. And yeah, and that's all on the website, the California State License Board website. But that's why I think going back to the insurance, like check all those three, because the bond isn't going to get you a lot of money for your damages.
Right.
So
that's something, but it's not the end all be all.
You got the hallway covered.
Yeah, if that.
Yeah, which is great.
You got one door in the house.
Yeah, for real. So that I think is a good one. Oh, we're already on tip number 5. I'm really flying through this.
You are flying through it.
Okay, tip 5 is obtain multiple bids. So, tip 1 through 4, that was what you should do with each contract that you get from a contractor.
Okay.
Now you should be getting multiple of them.
How many? What is realistic? Is that 5, 10, 3? What would you recommend as a bare minimum?
I would say like 3.
3.
And obviously be wary of the super high ones and be wary of the super low ones, because super high tells me they may be overcharging you. Super low tells me they're subcontracting out work that's like really cheap.
So you're recommending a Goldilocks approach.
Goldilocks approach.
Goldilocks and the 3 bears. The beds. There's 3 beds. One's too hard. One's too soft.
Oh,
this one's just right.
I haven't heard that story in a really long time.
I just saw the movie. What movie? My kids are watching Puss the Boots, and there's a whole thing on Goldilocks, so it's top of mind for whatever reason.
Take the Goldilocks approach.
Goldilocks approach.
Yeah, because again, that goes to another, not necessarily a legal approach, but think about the quality of work.
Yeah.
And I guess it also kind of comes back to the fact of like, if the bid's super low and they're just hiring some laborers that they find who probably aren't insured, then you got the liability again.
Right.
So it's quality, but also like you don't want it to come back to bite you later.
Makes sense. I like that one.
Yeah.
It seems obvious, but I think some people, they want to get the project done. They meet with one contractor. They're like, okay, this is fine, but spend the extra time. Because once you lock yourself in these projects, these can be 6 to 8 month projects ultimately. So it's a relationship that's going to be ongoing for quite a while.
Yeah, you're going to have to deal with them for a long time.
On a daily.
And so also you should kind of like them.
True. Is that a tip? You have to
No,
like
but
them?
I'm going to add that. You should like them. You should really get along with them, because you're going to be emailing and talking to them a lot.
Do you like them? Yes, no, maybe.
Yeah. Even just with that, like, you should, once you've hired a contractor, getting your home, especially if you have like a full remodel, it's like a full-time job for yourself. You really should be watching their work, because you should, I guess here's another tip I was thinking of. You should not pay for work that has not been completed. So you need to do your homework of like watching them, so you don't get an invoice and just pay it and the work hasn't even been done, or the material's not even purchased. So it's like, it's kind of not a full-time job, but you really have to.
There's work on your end.
There's work on your end. So then if you're going to be working with this person, you should also like them.
Okay, I agree.
All
right, what tip are we on now?
Tip number 6.
I think 6.
6. Okay, so this is something that's, now you've hired your contractor, you found the good bid, they're licensed, insured, bonded, you like them. You should no verbal change orders. So, I don't know, do you think people understand what a change order is? Should I explain that?
I would, because sometimes there's a change order, but they don't recognize it as a change order. It's
kind of like a industry term.
Right.
So, okay, so here's a good way to explain it. You have your contract, and it says, we're going to put on, this wall 3 windows, on this wall 2 windows. We're going to, over there, a door. And then you're like, this first wall, I think it'd look better with 2 windows instead of 3, but your contract is charging you for 3. You have 3. That's in the plans. A change order would be to change that work from 3 windows to 2 windows, or 3 windows to 4 windows. It could increase the price. You can add more work or less work, but it's changing from the original. It's a modification of the contract of the work.
Yeah, I think that's good to recognize too. If it's you have a very black and white approach to it, any sort of modification, alteration, irrespective of how minimal or de minimis, right?
Yeah.
That is a change order, and it should be documented. It should be in writing, and the expectation should at least be memorialized in some way.
Yeah, because I mean, they're required to be in writing. They are, but I see a lot of times they're not, and even if they're not in writing, they're still like enforceable in the sense that the contractor can still collect payment for that work under like equitable principles. Right. But I think the more important thing of getting it in writing is that everyone knows what the work that's changed, you know, I mean, everyone's on the same page, has the same expectations of like, this wall is going to have 3 windows or 2 windows. And it's not, you know, there's not going to be a conflict later of, oh, why are you charging me for 3 when it was supposed to be 2? So a change order should say the scope of work that's going to be done, if it's adding to the contract price or reducing it, and then also to like the change, like the progress payments, because that's gonna, change orders are inevitably going to slow things down. Right. And it should also have like reference to if that's going to change the project completion date, which it probably will.
Well, it's good too. I mean, just to have that paper trail, but also what happens, especially on these big projects, you know, a lot is happening. There's a lot of movement, and sometimes the homeowner may forget sort of what that change was. Yeah. Or in the inverse, you know, a change was made. The contractor was told, hey, I need A, B, and C. That's a change. The contractor says, okay, great, I'll do it. Doesn't do it. And now there's a dispute over whether there was an actual change order. And if it's not in writing, it's hard for the homeowner to enforce, hey, on a Tuesday as I was leaving to, you know, my kid's soccer practice, I told you to do this. Yeah. Yeah. So I like that.
Yeah. It's just, it seems like overly formal, but maybe it's going to, you know, add more time to the to the whole project. But
again, it's not a huge amount of time.
It's worth it. I mean, yeah, your contractor's going to have to go back to his office and type up a new document, maybe change the plans, but it's the piece
on the grand scheme of things, better to do it.
Yeah, you have the extra few minutes in your day.
I agree.
Tip number 7.
Now the grand finale.
Grand finale. After you've made payment for, because you know, in construction, they're going to have like progress payments as the work is being completed. So you're going to be paying multiple times. Okay. But after you've paid for that work that's been completed, you should request and receive a release from the contractor saying basically all the lien claims it releases those so that it's fully satisfied. So, okay, I feel like here's a better way to explain it. So if you have a contractor and he's subcontracting out for the guy who's going to do, say, like the marble in your kitchen. So he found a guy who he cuts the marble, he installs it. Your contractor pays that subcontractor, but you paid your contractor for the marble and the labor, but he then doesn't take your money and go pay the sub. Right. The sub can file a mechanics lien on your property.
And we see a lot of those.
We see them all the time.
Right.
And so that's why it's so important to get a release, so to ensure that the guy who does the marble can't then say, hey, I didn't get paid.
Yeah, it severs off any potential liability from contractor malfeasance, in essence, right? Yeah. It's the contractor who pockets the money, tells the subcontractor, this is kind of a tongue twister.
I know, I can't say it today.
The subcontractor to go kick rocks. Now you have at least a shield if someone comes and tries to attack you subsequent to the project being over. Yeah. No, I actually love that. I mean, that's a great tip.
The lien claim, it's released. They can't file a lien.
Yeah, because a lot of times, I mean, we talk to our clients and the job is just over in the sense that they packed up one day and left. But to get some sort of formal, nail in the coffin, for lack of a better word, that just closes out the account, severs any further liability. I mean, that's a clean break at that point. Yeah. I like it. Yeah. Shelby, thank you for being here. Your list was golden.
Well, thank you for having me.
And hopefully we'll have you back soon.
Yes, definitely.